Liz, Greg said he was having trouble getting on for some reason. It says
I didn't even see his name show up yet, so I don't know if he needs to.
they'll forward him the email
Yeah, I
again.
didn't see his name pop up yet.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Here.
Liz, are we good to go?
We are. I'm wait. I'll keep an eye and watch for Greg to log on. I have it up on the
Emailed him the
side.
link
So I'll see
again,
when-
so
Yeah. Hi, Maureen. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah. I have it on my phone. It's not coming up on my computer. It froze. I'm gonna try it while I have it on my phone too.
Okay. Here's Greg coming in.
All right, we're all set up then?
Hey, I don't think the link off the city website works.
From the meeting information page.
Yeah, because I kept trying to get in and it just kept saying the host is in a different meeting or has another meeting in progress.
That's what I'm trying.
So like when I get on, I don't go to the emails. I go to the city website and log on from there, and it wasn't working. I don't know if it's a different meeting ID or not.
I'll check it out as you guys are doing this, but I copied it right from the agenda, so I don't know why.
Yeah, mine I think is my computer's fault, but I can at least get it through my phone.
All right. 7:02. I'm going to call to meeting for the Finance Committee. We have a few things to discuss. The first is ordinance 2021 authorizing acceptance and administration of the 2020 NOPAX Energized Community Grant. This was on second read. Does anyone have any questions about it?
Mayor, have we, under the current financial situation, identified any projects that we're going to use this for? Or are we simply, like we previously discussed, going to put it into the budget and try to find a project as the year goes along?
We haven't decided on anything. We're going to wait to see how things go. There was a possibility, there was some roof repairs here at City Hall that might be a possibility for this year, but that may not, again, not knowing the issues with the budget, we haven't made any final determination with the funds.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, well then I'd like to make a motion to put this on third read and final passage. Mike,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
I say yes. Greg?
Yes.
All right, so that'll pass 7-0. The next is ordinance 2023, increasing expenditure to the auditor of state for the 2019 fiscal year audit. That was on first read last time. Does anyone have any questions or anything from this?
Is Director Single present?
I am on the line. I'm here.
Awesome. I did have one question. So in the one whereas clause, it says due to the city expending over $750,000 in federal grant funding, the city is subject to a single audit, and as a result, the cost is estimated to increase. What does the amount of money we expended via grants, how does it change the type of audit we receive?
We received, or we spent over $1.2 million in 2019 of federal funds. So the auditors, the city's subject to a single audit, which means that the projects are audited individually. So they perform additional tests on those projects just to make sure that the monies were expended properly. So the biggest component, or the largest federally funded program, was the Lorraine Road Streetscape project. It was about $767,000 was expended in 2019. Then we had Nelson Ross. We had money for the senior roof, senior bus. So Nelson Ross was about $155,000. Senior roof was $150,000. So it's this additional audit, additional testing that the auditors will perform on the projects for the programs.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, then I'd like to make a motion to put this on second, subsequent third. Mike,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
I'm going to say yes, and Greg?
Yes.
Okay, that'll pass 7-0. Next is resolution 2007, the alternate tax budget for 2021. This was on first read last week. And I have a question for Greg or the mayor. Did our amount of money that we're receiving from Rita went down this year 38%? Is that shown in this new updated budget page?
The tax budget refers to property taxes, not
Okay,
income tax. So what this document does, this authorizes the county to set the property tax rate for the city of Fairview Park in 2021. So
okay,
the city currently levies 11.8 mills, and we will continue to levy 11.8 mills.
okay.
So this will allow the county to property tax rates. Later this year, council will review a resolution with the rates attached and approve that document as well. So this document is needed to begin the process of setting the property tax rates on behalf of the city of Fairview Park.
And the county dictates that?
The county, this document will authorize the county to set the rates and council will approve those rates in resolution form later this year, usually like about November. So the majority of these, the levied millage was approved via the electorate. For example, there's a permanent improvement levy of 0.87 mils that was approved by the electorate. The recreation levy of 1 mil was approved by the electorate. The county just administers the property tax collections, as you know.
And then with the fire operating line, is that with the levy, are we assuming that we're passing it? And is that money reflected here?
So that levy is currently in place
Okay.
through 2021. So
Okay.
we will levy the 1 mil, and per this document, it would generate $352,000. But just so you know, when I prepare this document, I add about 10%, or I add 10% to the assessed value of the community. Just in case the value of the community increases. What winds up happening here, Bridget, is if you don't show the need for your requested millage, so the 11.8 mils, if you don't show the need for those, they could, in some cases, be freed up. And if that would happen, the schools could come in and gain that millage, and then you have a really difficult time getting it back. So I always overestimate here,
Okay.
and then show the need for the overestimated amount just to protect the millage.
That makes sense. Thank you. Does anyone else have questions? Okay, then I'd like to make a motion to have this on second reading and remain in committee. Bill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
I'm going to say yes. Greg?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0. The final thing is Resolution 2008, the application and agreements for RRWWTP Final Clarifier Rehab Project. It was on first read last week. Does anyone have any questions on this? No? Is this
Bridget, I just wanted to clarify. We're looking at passing this on emergency after 3 readings. So just immediate implementation, not prior to 3 readings, right?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure I read that correctly.
All right, well then, seeing no more of the questions, I'm going to make a motion to have this go on to second, subsequent, third read. Mike,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
I'm going to say yes. Greg?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0. And that's all for the Finance Committee. At 7:13, we will end. Thank you.
Thanks, Bridget. Okay, we'll have boards and commissions reports. Brian?
The rec commission meets tomorrow at 6 p.m. Via Zoom. So we'll have more of an update after that. But it's our first meeting in a little bit since COVID. So I'm looking forward to getting together with everyone again.
Very good.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank
Sure.
you. William,
Nothing, Mike.
thank you. Sarah,
So I did speak with Superintendent Wagner today regarding the schools. I know we all know that the schools are closed at the current moment due to COVID-19. And obviously they are working very hard at a plan to get our kids back into school for next school year. But he did mention that the EEC, the Early Education Center, their daycare and summer camp portion for what summer camp might be, is aiming to try to open on June 15th. They've run into a little bit of an accreditation issue in terms of the Ohio Jobs and Family Services have allowed daycares to open, but they are actually accredited by the Ohio Department of Education, which has closed all schools. So they're trying to work through that right now, but right now the target for them to reopen daycare and summer care, I guess we'll call it, is June 15th. Whether they'll make that target or not, I guess anybody could say, but that's their target. So we wish them best of luck in doing that. And that's all.
thanks, Sarah.
Mhm.
Maureen,
Nothing tonight, Mike.
thank you. Bridget,
Nothing tonight.
Greg,
Nothing.
thank you. Ryan, do you have anything for roundtable?
Nope, not tonight.
Thank you. William,
Just the usual high grass complaints taken care of. Thank you.
thank you. Sarah,
So there are several nuisance properties in my ward that I've been fielding complaints about over and over and over again. And so when I speak to the building department or the administration about it, I'm repeatedly told that there's nothing we can do about these properties, whether it's that they're bank owned or foreclosed, or the owner is a rental or a landlord who lives out of state. And I'm just a little frustrated. I understand that answer when they walk me through, you know, if we took them to court, this is what would happen. It would cost the city a lot of money. And we still wouldn't get them to cut their grass or fix their siding or whatever the issue is. But it's very frustrating to me that I'm continuously answering the same question over and over in a non-helpful way for the city, for the residents, for everyone. And I guess I would love it if this body could give some thought to, are there other avenues that we could take on this? Maybe take a look at what the other cities are doing and try to see if we can make a solution that is not just, well, we've cited them, we find them, and they refuse to show up in court. I don't know what the approach is, but I thought it would be nice if we could spend some time discussing it.
somebody's responsible for these properties, Sarah. I mean, the city can do maintenance on these properties, and somebody's going to pay the tab eventually, whether it's cutting grass or whatever.
I'm talking about garages caving in that are safety issues that we simply can't seem to do anything about, or, you know, siding or abandoned homes that now have people living in them. I mean, it's not a great number of homes, but it just seems like we're stuck in this limbo of, we just can't do anything about it. And I'm frustrated.
Well, I know of a couple of them that you just referred to, but some of them I'm not familiar with. Can you send me the addresses so I can look into them, please?
Yeah, and I mean, Walt can tell you as well. I can send you the addresses, but Walt and I discuss them quite frequently. And, you know, I field complaints over and over and over again about them. And valid complaints. It's just, there's nothing we can do about it. So I'll send you those lists.
Well, this is the first I'm hearing about some of these, and, you know, we'll see if there is nothing that we can do.
There is one.
I don't know if that's the case. So, but I know the one, Mary Kay's following.
Yeah, the one with the garage, it's scheduled to go to sheriff's sale sometime, or to be scheduled for sheriff's sale sometime this summer. I sent the attorney handling the matter for Key Bank a request for an update. I haven't heard back from him. I'm just not sure if they're scheduling those sheriff sales.
Well, I
This-
can, they are not. I work in that building and they're not scheduling the
Yeah.
sheriff.
So I'm hoping though, my question was, Greg, is if this process had started prior to March 16th, would that be an exception or would he anticipate it moving forward? Because, but I doubt it, as Greg mentioned, because this hearing hasn't occurred that needs to happen. So I don't have a high hope for that to get scheduled, but I will stay in contact with that attorney and with Mr. Maynard and Councilwoman Waring.
Thank you. And just to be clear, it's not that I don't think Walt is doing his job. He absolutely is, and he's very responsive. And I think that he just sort of understands that sometimes it's not appropriate to chase people down, or it just wouldn't work, you know, if they live out of state or whatever. But I'm just repeatedly being told over and over with some of these properties that there's nothing we can do. And I wish there was.
Well, if you could send me those addresses, I would appreciate it so we can, you know,
Sure.
talk to Walt about it and John Castell and Tim as well.
Yep, I will send those to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Sarah?
That's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks. Maureen?
Yeah, there's a dead tree that's on North Park. It's right, you know, it's on the Bain Cabin property, like right by the stairwell. The tree is marked with a big red X and it's been marked for a while. I didn't know, you know, obviously I know we have a reduced workforce right now, but I know Leah Trainer was asking me if I knew when the tree would actually be taken down. I assumed that it was marked by the city. If you're even aware of it.
Yes, I am aware of it. We're in the process of getting a number of trees together so that we can take them down.
Okay.
It's a long story, our aerial truck is out of service and we'll need to get some help with that. So we're creating a list and going to do them efficiently over the next couple of days. Hopefully we'll see that as soon as we get the grass to stop growing a little bit and we can pull some people off mowers and onto that project. I don't think that that tree is posing a safety, health and welfare issue yet, but that I will double check. If its condition has worsened and it's now a safety issue, we will certainly take action immediately.
I'm sure basically Leah is staring at it, you know, right out her front door. So that's why she was curious.
Yeah.
That going off what Sarah was inquiring about, you know, when people on their properties do have high grass and that, and we send them a letter, I heard Mike refer to if they ignore it, does the city go in and mow it and then just bill them? Is that how it works? Okay.
Was under tax duplicate for the property.
Okay. All right. Very good.
It's $100 the first cut, $200 the second cut, and $300 the third cut.
Okay.
So if we do it more than once in one summer or 1 year, the cost increases.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
there's a couple on the list. I know that we've talked to some people about a couple that are already on the list for this week.
All right. There's somebody in my neighbor over on Valley Forge. Their lawn is okay, but then, you know, all around the house, it's huge beds of weeds that then obviously are blowing, you know, those, whatever you call them, the kind that blow, you know, the little, and I didn't know if that too would be something that we just send letters about when there's excessive weeds. You know, the lawn is mowed, but it's huge beds of weeds. And neighbors then are saying, you know, they're blowing onto their yards, so then they get weeds, you know, and that sort of thing.
That's a citable offense.
Okay.
If you want to send Walt and
Yeah.
myself the address, and we'll have somebody take a look at it.
Will do. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Maureen. Bridget,
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Greg,
Yeah, so last week I sat in on North Olmsted's city council meeting, tuned into it. They were doing a Zoom one, mostly because I was interested in the extended outdoor dining. But during the meeting, they were talking about how they got hit real bad with flooding, and it sounded like it was worse than ours. And so I made a chat message during it and just said, we got water, bad flooding in Fairview too. The next day, I got a call from Kevin Kennedy, North Olmsted mayor, and we had a really good conversation about storm control and water and flooding in basements. And because something that kind of stands out to me, and I don't know if this is just selective observation, accurate or inaccurate, but it kind of seems that Ward 5 gets it the worst, which is the only ward in the city that predominantly goes to North Olmsted. So then we were talking about different methods of stormwater retention and when it gets into the sanitary lines and all that. And he brought up something called an ET basin or an equalization basin, where it is basically a big tank buried underneath the ground. And when the pressure gets too high, rather than going up into people's basements, it goes into the ET basin, and then it fills up and waits for the pressure to reduce, and then it gradually empties out. And he said that they've implemented a variety of these in North Olmsted, and the areas that they put them in have been very successful. And so I thought that would be something we may be able to consider. And he was very open about if anyone wanted to come look at North Olmsted's and he could show us the stuff. I don't know what these things cost. I'm assuming it's a lot. But I didn't know if that'd be, I wanted to bring it up and get any feedback to see if this is something that we might be interested in pursuing, as a city, because it seems like we're kind of lacking a good, storm retention plan at this point. So I kind of wanted to just tell this story and get the feedback to see if it's worth following up with him to get the information regarding these types of basins. I don't know how big they are. I don't know if they're custom fit. I don't know if you put one at like, Nelson Ross or some area. He said there's a lot in North Olmsted that you wouldn't even guess one's there because they're buried. And so that was pretty much it.
Well, Greg, we prior to the last storm, Mary Kay and I had talked to Michael McKay and Kim Kerber about the flooding issue, and that was one of the things that we did discuss. They are expensive. We are in the process of gathering some data to see where where would be a good place to address the problems in the system. It certainly is a big problem in Ward 5. I see Debbie and Ray Hammerly are on the call. Maybe we could put a retention basin in their backyard. Maybe they'll let us do that. But that is, I think ultimately that would be, Mary Kay can chime in. She has more expertise in this than I. I mean, we're talking to our engineers about that type of system, something to increase the capacity when you do have these types of events. I mean, there was so much pressure in the system back in May that's anything that could help relieve it would have been helpful. And Mary Kay's working on a letter to council to explain what we have done, what we're intending to do, and but that would be on the list of things to do.
That's been discussed throughout the years many times, along with hundreds of other things with our engineers, with contractors that have been hired by the patent administration. And year after year, we've sunk $800,000 to $1 million in these strategic spots with these strategic repairs and linings and enlargements. And
well, has one ever been installed in Fairview?
No.
No, yeah.
No. Like I said, we've gone with what the consultants and the engineers have told us and put the money where they've told us. So no, I mean anything to stop the bleeding at this point.
Yeah.
There are some smaller retention basins, and there's some of the newer developments they have them, but not like they're more related to a development or a particular project, and this would be more system wide. But yeah, that is I wish they were, we could do it sooner and cheaper, because that's, I think would be a big help, but that's on the list to do. I mean, Mary Kay, I don't know if you'd have anything else you'd like to add.
Well, we had looked at the Black and Beach study that President Kilbane brought up, as well as the 2011, that was in 2017. We looked at the 2011 Coe Creek Tech Res study of whether, or not you can adjust the creek. And we were able to see that it's important to prioritize what Mayor Cooney mentioned as infiltration. It's stormwater entering the sanitary system. And Councilman Berger did describe it very well, that the system's getting pressurized underground due to groundwater, due to footer drains, downspouts, and possible weakness in the system in general. So it's allowing the stormwater to get in, pressurizing the line and pushing back into basements. So we've, because of that past efforts done, we're able to quickly come to a very good understanding of what we anticipate the situation to be. We'll get more information and data from these meters, and that will pinpoint even further, what is our next step? Where do we need to televise to get additional data? What projects do we need to consider? I've heard of those containment devices called EQ systems.
Or EQ, I could have misspoke. It was probably
That's
EQ.
no, that's all right. And so those systems are designed to gather up the stormwater, and it's something we'll definitely pursue. It's just impossible to say that that's the solution until we look at the meter data. So these meters in the sanitary system will tell us comparisons between dry weather days and when these wet weather events have happened. And unfortunately, we should have a lot of data in that regard. But once we are able to grab the data, manipulate it in a formulaic way, our engineers can get us to those next steps. And we'd like to have a plan by the end of this year and then start applying for funding. In the recent resolution you discussed, there is a reference to a very low interest loan that the wastewater treatment plant is pursuing. And there's DAPWIC applications. So there's opportunities to gather different funding sources so that we can look at a project like the Clifford project. I'm sure Councilwoman Waring was relieved this year to not get as many calls as she may have gotten in the past. After the Clifford project was done, there's very little sanitary sewer backups reported in that area, north of Mildred, actually, from Lorraine to Westwood. So these projects can really be game changers, but they have to be done correctly. So we're looking forward to getting you more information.
Okay.
We certainly need to change the game in Ward 5.
Yes, indeed.
That's for
Yeah,
sure.
they definitely get it the worst, at least I think.
I believe you're correct.
Okay, but at the end of the year to have something that's good. I think that's optimistic.
We'll have more of a game plan then. Yeah, so we're getting more data. We're working on it, giving you a letters what or some of the ideas, and a lot of it is data, as Mary Kay said. But it's a problem and we need to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Greg?
No, I think that's it. Thanks.
Thanks. Liz, do you have anything?
Just a quick update. If you didn't already get notice to update your Zoom client, you will have to do that before the end of the May 30th is the last day. It'll force you to do it, and it shouldn't take long. It should just be like when you install it, you click on something to install it, and it runs in a matter of a couple minutes, actually, because mine did it before I got on today. So if you see that the next time you get on, you might want to get on a couple minutes early if you don't know if it already did it, but I'll shoot an email out and with more information to see whether you have the latest update or whatever.
Could
But that's
that,
it.
Liz, could
Yes.
that explain? And I couldn't get on my computer that I typically look at. Would that be why? Like right now, I'm doing the Zoom meeting from my phone. Does that make any sense?
It does, but it seems like it should do either one you do, it should update it. So I don't think that's,
Yeah, okay. All right, I'll keep working on it, trying to figure out what's up with my computer.
did it give you an error message?
No, the problem was the Zoom just never came on. You know, you know how when it's loading, it just never completely
Mhm.
loaded. It just never got to that point. So I just switched over to my phone, you know, when it wasn't doing it. So
Usually
I'll
there's in the window, it says if it doesn't connect within a certain amount of time, you can click something else for it to try another way. So if you want to try and test it this
Yeah.
week sometime, I can set up some dummy meetings and we can try and work through it.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Anything else, Liz?
Well, if you haven't filed your report yet, you got till July 15th. So that's it.
Thanks for staying on that. We need it. I just want to thank the mayor for getting us the information about the expansion of the dining areas for the bars and restaurants. Is this something that this is obviously something we want to get done quickly, I'm assuming, right, Mayor?
Well, it's up to you. We've talked about it here internally. We want to help the businesses, but we do have to keep things safe. I know Walt's on the call. Talked to Chief Raffin about some of the, safety concerns that he would want to make sure were in place. It's
Well, it's completely up to you. If you feel you've researched it enough and you want to get us an ordinance, for the meeting next week. I mean, if you want to pass it on an emergency, that's something we could think about. Or if you'd rather us just assign it to committee next week and we can discuss it further.
I think maybe assigning it to a committee might be a good idea.
Okay.
If that's okay with you.
Yeah, whatever you think.
We should do it more in an emergency because we need it now. If we do committee, we're just pushing this off.
It'll be a few more weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with Bridget.
I do too.
Side, though, our residents who live beside some of these places might really want the opportunity for input on this legislation.
True. Okay.
So I don't necessarily know that it needs to go through 3 reads, but I would want to make sure we have enough time to notify them, because if you live next door to one of these places, it's going to expand a patio basically into your backyard, which I don't know is the case, but could potentially. I'd like to give those residents the opportunity to speak up about it.
From what I've read in the draft ordinance that the mayor sent along, the hours I believe are to 9 p.m., which is an hour earlier than Lakewood's. The one Lakewood just passed. So it's relatively.
If we really wanted to, couldn't we notify anyone within 200 feet via mail?
You faded out there, Greg. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Couldn't you give notice to anyone within 200 feet, sending them a letter in the mail?
Well, those are the type of questions, or I think with the temporary nature, we wouldn't be going through planning and design and those type of things. That's the discretion would address with the building commissioner, or if it's a fire safety issue with the chief. So the notice requirements are built in there. We could put them in there if that's what you want.
Who would be making the end decision on that? Would it be the?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. It's hard.
All right. Well, we'll assign it to committee next week. No, I mean, from what I read in the ordinance, it would basically be putting up a cordoning off an area in a parking lot, extending the patio that already exists. Say it was Bonnie's or Gunzelman's or whatever, I mean, or the Mexican restaurant. I mean, a lot of these places had patios. As long as they're not blocking the sidewalk.
Could we put it on the agenda, discuss it, and if we don't get it passed there, then send it to committee the following week?
Michael, I would like an ordinance on this.
What's that, Bill?
I would like an ordinance.
You would like an ordinance on the agenda next week? And,
Yes, I would like an ordinance because this is an important issue
yeah,
to help our businesses, okay?
Yeah, I agree with Councilman Minnick.
all right, Mayor, you want to post an ordinance next week?
Okay, well,
At least we're showing an intention here of helping our businesses. We have to do something.
okay, I think we'll talk to Tim tomorrow and see if there's any, see if there's any changes that we want to make before we send it over, the final draft to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, we don't have to pass it on emergency next week. I mean, if the council doesn't feel the ordinance is complete yet, if they have additions, I mean, we could discuss it further, pass it on second read, whatever,
Right, so that's why it doesn't hurt just putting it on next meeting.
Sure.
That's fine. I wanted your input. I mean, Sarah had a good point. If somebody's close to a bar, they may want to have some input too. So,
We might be able to get some of that input if we hit the streets and send out some emails and really talk to some of those residents too.
Yeah.
So, I'm okay with making sure this is done in a timely manner. Ohio only has so many nice days. I just want to make sure they have the opportunity to speak their piece if they need to, because they may or may not be impacted.
right.
That's what I'm trying to think. As far as establishments that abut a residential property, what comes to mind is Gunzelman's and Bonnie's. Are there others that would abut residential property that I'm not thinking about?
How about Gina's?
Yeah, that could expand. I can't, in the drink, well, they're across the street. There's a residential across the street.
Yeah.
But
also,
Yeah,
this is daytime hours. I mean, there's construction that goes on. If you're talking about Gina's, there's construction that goes on the streets, which is going to be louder than.
No, yeah.
well, that's what people, but that's the customers. They want to sit out there when that's going on. I mean, it's there. I think most of the, because of the density of the city, most of the establishments are close to residential. If they don't abut, they're close to a residential property. But one of the things that we've talked about is having the city having the discretion that if people aren't complying with the requirements that are in the ordinance, that that can be revoked pretty quickly. So, and I've talked, as I mentioned in my email, I've talked to all the heads of, the various department heads about it. And, I know Wall has some ideas and Tony has some ideas, but, we'll get an ordinance to you and we can talk about it a little more on Monday.
Right.
And it might already be in that final form. I know Tim had looked at a number of different municipalities to see what might, would be the best fit for us, but we'll have something to Liz tomorrow for sure.
Councilman Minnick, we couldn't hear you.
Giving our businesses the opportunity to expand.
We're having trouble hearing you.
Bless you.
You.
We could schedule a special committee meeting prior to the council meeting.
Yeah, good idea.
That would.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I like that idea.
All right.
Sounds good, Mike.
What time do you guys want to do that?
6-ish.
6 to,
6 is good.
Okay.
Greg, you were on the North Olmsted one last week. Did they have any sort of audience input or anything like that on it, or was it passed pretty fast?
They did not have audience input.
I can check with their clerk. Chuck and I are pretty tight, so
I mean,
can-
they gave opportunity. Nobody spoke.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Mayor, did you have anything else?
No, we're working on the rec center opening. Mary Kay and I will be over there tomorrow. They're moving some of the machines into place. We're working on the logistics of it, and we'll keep you posted.
We're looking at the 15th, right?
Yeah, by the 15th, correct.
Thank you.
And yes, somebody did go there today to try to get in there, so.
Okay, if that's, Director Costello, did you have anything?
No, thank you, though.
Okay, thanks very much. Mrs. Hammerly, did you want to say something?
Thank you, Mike. Just a quick thing. I want to thank you for your thinking about Ward 5. And I hope that it becomes an issue for a committee. And just to give you a little bit of the scope, this season, since February, there were three events. The first one, we got through unscathed. The second one, we had water in the basement and we reported it to the building department. And this last one, it was more water. And this time it affected homes even on Sycamore, on the south side of Sycamore. So it's expanding. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thanks, Mrs. Hammerly. I know I've owned 2 houses in Ward 5 over the past 25 years, and both of them had some water issues, so it's sorry to hear that. Okay, if no one has anything else, we'll adjourn for the evening.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good night,
you.
everybody.
You too.
Good night. I still love you.